LeetCode's TwoSum. Let's walk through two solutions for this problem. We can see that we already have a brute force solution here, but I'm going to go ahead and break that down, and then we're going to write a more optimal solution and explain why they're different and why one's better than the other. So TwoSum is the first question in LeetCode. It's an easy one, but it's great for beginners or great for anyone that wants to test the waters with LeetCode and see what it's all about. Lately, I've heard people talk smack about LeetCode, which, I mean, to each their own. Personally, I think it's great, especially if you're like me. I don't come from tech. I was a welder, and now I have transitioned into tech. So LeetCode is a valuable resource to develop those problem solving skills that we need as programmers. So anyway, enough of that. The challenge reads, given an array of integers nums and an integer target, return indices of the two numbers such that they add up to the target. You may assume that each input would have exactly one solution, and you may not use the same element twice. You can return the answer in any order. So we're given this nums list and this target number. We have to return the positions of the numbers that add up to this target. We can visually see in this case that 2 plus 7 are equal to 9. So we must return index 0 and index 1. If we run this here, we can see we get that 0 and 1. Now, yeah, the brute force solution works. It will always work, but it's not very efficient. It has a time complexity of big O of n squared. And that means that for every number that this outer for loop is going through in this nums list, the inner for loop must go through every other number and check if the sum of those two are equal to the target. If they are, then we will return the indices of those numbers. So a better solution actually would be using a dictionary, right? We all know that, but if you don't know what a dictionary is or how it works or why it's better, this is why. A dictionary stores key value pairs, right? Right here, we're just setting an empty dictionary. So it stores key value pairs, and the key is actually hashed. So there's pretty much like a space in memory that holds the address to that key. So when we search for it, Python already knows where it's at, or your computer already knows where that's at. And it doesn't have to go through like in the for loop where it goes through, oh, is it here? No. Let me check over here. No. Let me check here. No. Let me check here. No. No. Python, when it uses dictionaries, it already knows where it's at. So it already knows where the key is at. It goes straight to it, returns the value. Okay. So let's do that. And we're gonna use this for loop for I and num and enumerate nums. This is a great function to use when you're trying to access both the index and the number at the same time. So in here, we're going to go through the numbers, and then we're going to set this variable complement equal to the target minus the num. And let me explain that real quick. So in our first iteration in this for loop, we're at number 2, index 0. So num is 2, this I is 0. This complement is going to hold target minus 9. Target is 9, so 9 minus 2 is 7. So now complement holds 7. What we can do next is check if complement is in the pair index, then we're going to return in a list pair index complement. So the value that complement is assigned and the index we are currently in. And remember, the value that we're gonna store is gonna be the index. The key is the number, the value is the index. So we're gonna return the index of this complement. This complement in our first iteration is gonna be set to 7. So we're gonna return the index of 7. And then the index we are currently at index 0, right? So we already have the two indices we need, right? 1 and 0, or 0 and 1. But remember, it's an empty dictionary. So in our first go around, this will evaluate to false because there's nothing in here. This will be skipped. So what we have to do is just start building the dictionary. So we're gonna do pair index, the name of the dictionary. The key is gonna be the number we are currently at, and we're gonna set the value equal to the index of that number. So once we go through this nums list, the dictionary is gonna be built with all the numbers, and the value is gonna be the index or the indices of those numbers. Then this will work flawlessly every time and in a very efficient manner. If I run this, we can see we get 0 and 1. But let's change this 7 and say we add it to the very end over here. Now we should be getting 0 and 3, 0 and 3. So we still get the same output, but this is much faster than this nested for loop brute force solution. The brute force solution, like I said, big O of n squared. This dictionary solution is big O of n, which is a much faster speed, more efficient. So these two solutions I wanted to walk through and explain the differences and why one is better than the other. And this is what we should be doing when we're going through these LeetCode challenges, I think. First try to come up with any solution, a brute force solution, just so you can get something, and then try to optimize that solution with something like this. And honestly, hash maps or dictionaries, if you know how to use them, you can solve a bunch of these problems. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned. I will be posting more LeetCode stuff and also just beginner tips, just a lot of Python stuff. You know what I mean? Pretty much my journey coming from welding to coding. So thanks again. Y'all have a good one.